Now the next thing to do is to place some trees in the design. And for that we need to open the tree design file. So we'll go and open tree design. And let's make a save view of the actual symbol, just for convenience sake, if nothing else. This time we need to just zoom in rather than use the window area. Save views, create save view. We'll call the saved view tree1. Data point in the view to accept it. And we have our tree1. We can dismiss that. Now we can go back to our sheet view. So now we need to reopen the road file. And now we need to insert the tree symbol. So attach reference. It's coming from the tree design. Now you notice that in the save view section, we don't see our save view. However, that's because we're not in the right model. The default model is automatically selected when you first attach a file. You need to change the model to the unit tree model. Now we see our tree1 saved view. Now we can select that. So now we can insert the tree. Now this will be very small, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit and place a tree there. Now as you can see, we need to scale this tree. But before we do that, give a thought to what happens when we both scale and copy this tree around the design, because we need quite a few trees. Every time we copy this attachment, we'll create another attachment record to the point where we may have hundreds of the same attachments in the reference box. That's really something we want to avoid. So we don't really want to copy this attachment at all. What we need to do is to bring the elements of this attachment into our sheet file, and then we can copy it from there. So I'm going to zoom in even further, and I'm going to use the copy tool, or right click, makes a little difference. I'm going to select the elements in here and copy. So I've copied them into our sheet file. At this point we can delete the tree attachment. We don't need it anymore. So right click on that and click on detach. I could also simply hit the delete key on the keyboard, but I'm using this method too, detach. Do we want to detach it? Yes, we do. That's gone. We're now left with the elements, the individual elements of the tree symbol. Now what you might do is make this into a group, which will make life a little easier. So we do Control G, and the tree is now a group. We can manipulate this quite nicely now. Now for convenience, I'm going to move my references file out the way. In fact, onto my second screen. I'm going to use the scale tool to both scale and copy this tree. I've set the scale at 5, which will give me a 5-foot wide tree, and I'm making one copy at the moment. So we'll do that right now. There's the tree. I'm going to right click. There's my tree. Now I can copy that tree as an individual item around my drawing. So copy, and I can place the tree wherever I think I need trees of that size. Now to make a larger tree, I will use my scale tool again. I have to be a little careful here. The scale is 5 from the last time, but 5 times 5 will give me a 25-foot tree. I want a 10-foot tree, so I'm going to set the scale at 2. Copy to 1, about the center, and there's my 10-foot tree. Move that out. And now I can copy that around the drawing too, wherever I need 10-foot trees, and so on. So your job now is to populate this drawing with trees on both sides of the road. Do that and come back. Okay, the next thing to do is attach the title block. And to do that, we need to attach that save view that we just made. So we need to click on Attach, the T-block design file, and we need our title saved view. Now the default model is fine. There's only one model in this T-block design file. We need to give it a logical name, and we'll call that title. And we need to select the saved view. Save view is open from the last operation, and it's the title save view that we want. We do have to change the scale though, because the title block is going to be scaled up for plotting purposes, and that will be a scale factor of 192, which is the scale we need for a plot of 1/16 inch equals 1 foot. If you're working in metric, that's a 200:1 scale factor. So we need to change the scale factor here to 192, and everything else is fine. So now we're going to say OK, and data point. After we've zoomed out a little bit so we can see where the save view is going to go. There, we'll do for the moment. Plop the title block into place. And if necessary, we can move the title block around a little bit to best advantage. Let's move it just a little bit that way. That looks good. Right click, and we're done. Let's close the references box so we can see the final plotted drawing. We would now plot this, having first entered information in the title block. Now, that was a lot of work. Don't despair though, you would never go to this amount of work for a simple design such as this. However, if you were working on a very large project with many separate but related parts, segregating the design into discrete models within the same design file or different design files is essential. In addition, for individual projects that share many standard details, this discrete model concept can be very useful when used with a reference system. A single design file can contain all standard details in carefully regulated separate models that can be referenced as many times as needed. We're going to look at this concept again when we talk about design libraries in a later video. You might also note that the saved view method of attaching references is a very efficient way of referencing only the elements you really need, not the whole design file. Don't forget too that levels can play a large part in the design process. In this exercise, I've deliberately ignored levels for relative simplicity, but you can obviously control the display of elements by turning levels on or off in the individual references if this is necessary. And one final note, a better way of adding the tree symbols to the design is to make the tree symbol a cell. We're going to talk about cells in a later video, but a cell is a collection of elements saved in a cell library, which can be inserted and copied in the design as many times as necessary. Cell libraries also become part of the model system, and we'll see how that works again in later videos. Now, I would strongly suggest that you go back over this exercise again, taking careful note of the techniques that we used. I know it's a lot of work, but it's really important that you understand this referencing system, which is used extensively and in great detail in many areas of drafting.